Grief is a strange thing. It lingers, creeping into the quiet moments of your day, reminding you of what you've lost. I had always been close to my grandmother, she practically raised me. When she passed away, a part of me felt empty, like I had lost my anchor in this world. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened after she was gone. It was exactly 1 week after her funeral. I remember staring at the ceiling that night, unable to sleep. My room was dark, but the dim glow of my charging phone cast eerie shadows on the walls. Then, at exactly 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. I grabbed it without thinking, but when I saw the caller ID, my breath caught in my throat. Grandma! For a moment, I just stared. My fingers went numb, my heart pounded so loudly that I could hear it in my ears. It had to be a glitch. Maybe someone got hold of her old phone number? But then I remembered. We buried her with her phone. A lump formed in my throat. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the screen. Every rational part of my brain screamed don't answer, but my emotions overpowered my logic. I swiped to answer. Hello? Silence. A static noise crackled through the speaker, followed by a deep, wheezing breath. My body froze, my skin prickling with cold fear. Then, in a voice that was barely above a whisper, I heard it. Why did you let them bury me, alive? I sat upright in bed, my entire body shaking. What? I stammered, my voice barely coming out. The call cut off. I sat there for what felt like hours, my phone clutched tightly in my hands. My mouth was dry, my body paralyzed with fear. I wanted to believe it was just a sick joke, but how? Who would do something so cruel? I barely slept that night. The next morning, I told my mother about it. She sighed, shaking her head. You're just stressed, sweetheart. We all are. Maybe you had a bad dream? No, Mom. It was real. She said, my voice broke. I didn't even want to repeat the words. Mom placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. Your grandmother is at peace now. Maybe this is just your way of coping. Coping? If this was coping, why did it feel so real? That night, I kept my phone on silent. I didn't want to see the screen light up with that name again. But at 3 a.m., I woke up anyway, as if something had pulled me out of my sleep. My room was dead silent. Then, my phone vibrated. Even though the ringtone was off, the buzzing noise felt like a scream in the stillness of the night. My heart hammered against my chest as I slowly reached for the phone. No caller ID. I didn't answer this time. Instead, I let it go to voicemail. When morning came, I hesitated before playing the message. My thumb trembled as I tapped the screen. A deep, ragged breathing filled my ears. Then, in a voice that was distorted yet familiar, I heard her again. Get me out. I'm still here. I dropped the phone. My whole body went cold. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to see her grave for myself. I called my best friend, Adam. He didn't believe in ghosts, but he could tell how shaken I was. All right, man. I'll go with you. But you're gonna owe me big time for this creepy shit. That night, we drove to the cemetery. The air was freezing, and the wind whispered through the trees, making the whole place feel like a horror movie set. When we reached her grave, I felt a sharp chill run through me. Something was wrong. The soil, it looked disturbed. I turned to Adam, my voice barely above a whisper. Do you see that? He nodded, his usual cocky attitude replaced by pure unease. Dude, someone's messed with the grave. My stomach twisted. I don't know what possessed me, but I grabbed a nearby shovel and started digging. Adam protested, but he didn't stop me. Maybe he felt it too, the unnatural heaviness in the air. As we dug, something inside me begged for this to be a mistake. That maybe the wind had shifted the soil, or maybe the cemetery workers had done some maintenance. But when the shovel hit wood, all hope shattered. I hesitated, my breath ragged. I reached out and brushed away the dirt, revealing the coffin beneath. My hands trembled as I forced the lid open. And that's when I saw it. The inside of the coffin's lid was covered in deep scratches. Fingernail marks. I fell back, my mind screaming at me to wake up, to convince myself this wasn't real. But it was. It was all real. Grandma had tried to claw her way out. She was buried alive. I scrambled to my feet, gasping for breath. My vision blurred, my heart pounding against my ribs. Adam stood frozen, his face pale, his eyes wide with horror. Then, my phone buzzed. 3 a.m. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to see the name on the screen. But something made me glance down. No caller ID. A single message popped up. You left me, now I will never leave you. The wind howled around us, and suddenly, I felt it, a presence behind me. Cold, heavy, suffocating. I turned around, and for the first time in my life, I saw something I cannot explain. A figure stood at the edge of the graveyard, shrouded in darkness, its face barely visible in the dim moonlight. But I knew. I knew who it was. And then, she smiled.